A village where dinner was still warm, lamps still glowing, and every single person vanished in the same minute. No tracks, no bodies, no explanation. Imagine arriving at a remote mountain village expecting nothing more than silence and cold air, and instead finding a scene that looks frozen in time. In 1932, a government inspection team climbed toward a small settlement after weeks without any communication. What they discovered has remained one of the most disturbing and well-preserved disappearances ever recorded. An entire village wiped clean of people while everyday life was left untouched. Not abandoned. Not evacuated. Just paused. The first house they entered already told the story. 4 plates were on the table, each with different portions of food, still warm enough to suggest the meal had been interrupted minutes earlier. A chair was slightly pushed back as if someone had just stood up. A lamp was burning oil, throwing a soft yellow light on a room without a single soul inside. The further the inspectors walked, the more unsettling the pattern became. Tools lay mid-use, laundry hung half-dry on ropes, a pen rested on a paper with a half-finished sentence. Children's toys were scattered on the floor, not in panic but in normal disorder. Even the village animals hadn't been released. Goats tied in place, dogs locked in their kennels, all alive and confused. Every sign pointed to normal life simply stopping mid-motion. What made everything worse was the untouched snow around the village. No footprints leading out, no dragged marks, no tire tracks. The landscape was pristine. If 100 people had decided to flee together, there would be evidence. But there was none. Snow like glass, perfect, undisturbed. The inspectors immediately understood that whatever happened didn't involve walking out of the village. Inside the largest house, a journal belonging to the village leader was found. At first, it looked like simple daily notes, until entries from the last week began showing strange details. The leader wrote about lights moving between the trees at night, about a metallic humming that shakes the ground, and about villagers waking up because someone familiar was calling them from outside their door. No names, no descriptions, just voices that sounded like people they trusted. The final entry was chilling. If the lights return tonight, we stay indoors. We do not answer. It was dated the exact night the village disappeared. The notion of an organized evacuation collapsed instantly. No one would leave a boiling pot on the stove, food served, animals starving, and doors unlocked. Nothing was packed. Nothing was collected. People simply vanished between one breath and the next. Investigators checked for signs of natural disasters. No broken structures. No gas smell. No tracks of an avalanche. The snow on rooftops hadn't even shifted. If an earthquake struck, the objects in every house would have fallen, but everything was in its place. If poisonous fumes had emerged from beneath the mountain, bodies would be around. But the village was empty, clinically empty, like a clean stage after a performance. One inspector claimed that while he was inside the village, he felt as if someone was watching from behind every window. But the feeling vanished as soon as he stepped back into the forest. Another reported hearing faint knocks inside a house with no one inside. They later dismissed those claims as nerves, but none of them forgot the sensation. The strangest detail was biological silence. No birds, no insects. Even the wind seemed to avoid the village. The forest was alive. The village felt dead. Not destroyed, dead. As if the environment itself rejected whatever had happened there. Some investigators later proposed bizarre theories, desperate attempts to make sense of the impossible. One hypothesis involved a rare infrasonic event, a sound frequency capable of inducing panic, hallucinations, or immediate flight responses. But again, the lack of footprints and abandoned supplies contradicted that idea. Others suggested mass hypnosis, cult activity, or a group suicide carried out far from the village. But there were no bodies. No burial sites. No clothing or tools missing. One geological researcher decades later suggested something far stranger. A localized electromagnetic anomaly strong enough to disrupt human perception or even interfere with the nervous system. Something that might cause a whole group of people to leave in a trance-like state, unaware of their surroundings. But again, no footprints. The disappearance became so difficult to classify that the government eventually sealed the files. The official explanation was inconclusive, but several documents tied to the case disappeared from archives over the next 40 years. Inspectors were discouraged from speaking publicly, and some claimed to have been warned to leave the matter alone. One anonymous inspector, near the end of his life, left a single statement. It wasn't a crime. It wasn't nature. It wasn't madness. It was something that didn't want witnesses. Today, the remnants of the village still exist. Houses collapsed, tools rusted, furniture covered in decades of snowmelt. The dining tables are no longer intact, the lamps no longer shine, but the sense of interruption is still there. As if time continues everywhere except that one place. What happened to the villagers? If they walked away, where are the tracks? If they were taken, why leave everything untouched? If it was natural, why has it never happened again? And if it was something else, why that village on that night at that exact minute? Whatever the truth is, one fact remains. When the inspectors arrived, dinner was still warm, and everyone was gone. If you enjoyed this mystery, hit like and subscribe. It helps the channel a lot and keep the investigations alive.